Ready to celebrate International Women's Day? M&M's and iHeart present Women Take the Mic, sharing empowering stories of women supporting and celebrating each other. And of course, there is a smooth and creamy companion for your listening pleasure, peanut butter M&M's. Because they're just another way to help treat yourself in situations where you deserve a little added delight, like listening to your favorite podcast. So savor the deliciousness of peanut butter M&M's and spread some positivity. From breaking glass ceilings to dominating in sports and entertainment, women truly are unstoppable.
Streaming March 21st, only on BET Plus. A BET Plus original series, Diara from Detroit.
You came down here to tell us that your date is missing. So after he ghosted you...
I did not get ghosted. I think he was taken.
One mystery.
We need to find him.
Zero chill.
What, am I supposed to solve every crime in Detroit?
From executive producer Kenya Barris, starring Morris Chestnut in Introducing Diara Kilpatrick. Diara from Detroit. Streaming March 21st on BET Plus.
Are you ready to move your career forward? Make your comeback with Purdue Global and get college credit for your work, school, life, or military experiences. With these credits, you may have already completed up to 75% of your undergraduate degree. You've worked hard to get where you are. It's time to get the recognition you deserve and earn a degree you'll be proud of. One that employers will trust and respect. When you take the next step in your life and career, make it count with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu.
Hi everyone, it's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. I have an exciting guest today. This episode is all about astrology, and Hannah is my guest, Hannah Francie, and I have followed her for years. She has this amazing YouTube channel called Hannah's Elsewhere, and I can remember probably 5 years ago, just when I would be diving into my own astrology and needing a different interpretation of a placement of a planet in a house, I would search that on YouTube and Hannah would pop up, and I started watching her videos, and then I subscribed to her. And so Hannah was my go-to gal years ago and has been, and I hope she becomes that for you. So you can find her on YouTube, Hannah's Elsewhere, hannahselsewhere.com, and she's been studying astrology for 8 years, but the way in which she knows it, I know that she's known astrology for lifetimes, like me with my numerology. It's just, you know, when people speak from their true register and their soul, and they are speaking to that, and she presents that way. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi. Hi, Amanda. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. And Hannah, by the way, everyone, is from Ireland. She lives in Belfast. We're going to talk a little bit today about the astrology of 2024 because it is happening now. It's happening now. I'm going to let you dive in so we can start talking about, we've got eclipse season coming up, but more than that, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, it's happening, it's building. So I want you to tell people about that and some of your thoughts and insights. Let's dive in.
So to clarify then, what I think is exciting is the astrological new year that's coming up. So that's going to be around the 18th, 19th of March. New beginnings are upon the horizon for many. So you did mention there about the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, and that's going to be in Taurus. So that's going to happen in April, so around the 20th to 21st of April.
Go back really quickly to the astrological new year, the equinox, sun entering Aries. To me, and I know you know this, it's so significant because Chiron is in Aries and the north node of the moon is in Aries. So it, to me, almost feels like while all of the equinoxes, the change of season are so potent and powerful, these gateways, something about this year and this rite of passage feels revolutionary, very much like Pluto in Aquarius. It's like we're entering a new consciousness, a new way of being. Something is happening. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, so it's very much, Amanda, this preparation period that we're all in, because the interesting thing about the huge shifts over the next few years is that Saturn and Neptune will enter Aries, and then also Uranus will enter Gemini. So we have these big cosmic shifts coming up. So you did mention there about Pluto and Aquarius. So Pluto entered Aquarius at the beginning of the year, so January of this year. It will dip back into Capricorn, of course, but we're pretty much entering a new era, and you can feel it, this sort of energetic change that's coming up. And I'm pretty sure people talk about it as if it's a new paradigm. So I think the significant thing about the astrological new year is, oh my gosh, we've got the eclipse season coming up, the solar eclipse in Aries, and then that lunar eclipse before it in Libra. So we're already noticing these changes here, to do with the likes of how we assert ourselves, how we stand up for ourselves. It's so much about our individuality, our identity, how we take action on things. But there's also a lot of healing happening on a collective level because Chiron, as you were saying there, Chiron's in Aries at the same time, and it's been there, I think, since 2018. So Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron looks at our wounds, but it's also a great teacher. Chiron teaches us how we can heal, but also recognizing how it is that we can help others, the parts of us that perhaps we can't fully heal, and that we can assist other people through their own struggles and pain, etc. So with it being in Aries, the astrological new year is going to be significant because it's like, okay, it's a new driving forward motion. But as you say, it's these new changes that are coming up for us, and we're going to notice more unfolding over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And for those of you out there who may not remember or are not familiar with Chiron, Chiron is an asteroid that essentially lives between Saturn, the past, Uranus, the future, this element of stability and infrastructure, organization, order in Saturn, and then Uranus about rebel rousing, the future, innovation, change. So Chiron is in this unique position of really getting down to what is wounded. And if it's in your natal chart, you have a look at that. Pull your natal chart and pull a chart where you can find where your natal Chiron was when you were born. And Hannah has wonderful videos on these things that you can check out. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have her on the podcast. So you all have her as a resource. She has a rich library of astrological content. She does forecast and is up to speed in the day-to-day, but you will be able to go back and say, oh, my Chiron is in Taurus and it's in my 7th house. And you will probably find something in her library that relates to you or that talks about what the 7th house is. So I just wanted to give that plug to her and to you all as far as digging in. And one of the things for me, as far as learning goes and astrology, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing dialogue. It's happening now and it's progressing us. But when I find resources where I am digging deeper and learning, it not only enriches me or clarifies things in my journey, it also expands my consciousness, and I feel like consciousness is shifting and it's happening rapidly. So when I dive in and learn about these things, I can feel this expansion, engagement, and the healing feels like it's happening faster if I'm paying attention. So when we talk about Chiron and Aries, I'm a Libra, and everybody on here knows that. So, of course, I actually really appreciate all the Aries energy because it balances me out. It pulls out some of those people-pleasing, like, I don't want to rock the boat. Let me just be nice for the sake of being nice. And then in the background, I'm like, screw you guys. Like the very typical Libra, it's like, it's okay. Ugh, I hate everybody. All of that, I feel like my authenticity and my voice is coming out. And of course, it creates a greater assertion for speaking my truth. But with Chiron in Aries, with the north node of the moon right now in Aries, and this Aries energy that Hannah is talking about, Aries is freaking bold. It's blunt. It'll like step on you and maybe apologize later. So I also know there are places I have to watch out for my anger and aggression and how I'm responding to that or processing it or communicating it from a place of compassion. And you were talking about these shifts as far as into Pisces with having Saturn in Pisces and Neptune, I can also feel the impact with having this Aries energy of also speaking my truth from a very sovereign place and a place of authority and confidence, which is such portions of Aries. but I'm using the softness of my Libra as well as those other energies to do it from a place of compassion and even being more compassionate with myself. Does that resonate with you with the way that I'm explaining what the experience I've been having and seeing in some other people?
It would resonate with me, yeah, because I think what you were touching on there, what stood out to me is just the importance of also embracing the South Node, because, the South Node's also in Libra, and then it is with the nodes, a big part of it is how you do kind of find that equilibrium. It's sort of like you look to the North Node and you think about, okay, well, what can I learn here? What can I gain from this? You're open to receiving. But when it comes to the South Node, you take what you receive from the South Node, from the North Node rather, and then you bring it back to the South Node, and then you start to give it, you teach it, you share your knowledge and your experiences then via that. So in the case of Aries, it would be about, you welcome in those things to do with the likes of individuality, the likes of how you assert yourself and how you do take the first move, make the first move. But then you bring it back and you think about, okay, well, how can this be used then even as a way to give within relationships, to find harmony within relationships? And it is so much about this axis of me versus we, right?
Yeah.
Self versus other, your individuality versus partnership. And we need a bit of both in our lives, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. And I think what you said about the North and the South nodes of the moon, about you strive towards the North node, but then you take those attributes and you bring them back to the South node. To me, I've never actually heard it put that way. And I think it's brilliant. And it just clicked of how the confluence of the North and the South node work, whether we're looking at our natal North and South node or where the placement is today. So for everybody out there, right now, the North node of the moon is in Aries, the South node is in Libra, so that's the axis that we're talking about. But also in your natal chart, the North node was somewhere and the South node was in the opposite of that sign. So you can learn your soul's path, your soul's evolution and trajectory through that. But then as a collective right now, we are in that me versus we is what Hannah was talking about. And I want to come back to what you said, because it really was very clear about what do I need? What do I want? And then how do I come back and collaborate, work with? And so it's really figuring out your truth and then coming back into partnership, collaboration, relationship, and feeling more balanced, and also honest and authentic from the Aries. So I think that's a beautiful way to put it. So I hope everybody out there is thinking in terms of your own personal experience right now, where you've seen yourself being more assertive. And how is that showing up in your relationships? And are you finding more balance and harmony in your relationships, in those interactions through being more honest, setting better boundaries, saying no? My big thing, I'm a Libra, so I'm like, it's really hard for me to have no as a complete sentence. So no, but, or no, thank you so much, but, and sometimes it's hard to say no, but I have found the no comes easier when it's my truth, and then I don't feel guilty or, oh gosh, somebody's not going to like me, that Libra stuff.
Yeah, my secondary progressed ascendant is in Libra, and I can certainly relate to those qualities as well in my whole life.
Yeah. I know. And so what Hannah just mentioned there, she's talking about progressions, which is another aspect of astrology that she and I are both familiar with, and it is something that we utilize. So again, I just want to say to anybody, whether you are seasoned in astrology and these things you're just chuckling about because you're like, yep, I get it. Yep, I get it. Or you're like, what the hell is a progression? Start with your natal chart. Start looking into where your Chiron is and research those things. Check out Hannah's information, but also check out your North and South node, where they are, and then drilling down to what houses they're in. Because I tell you what, they will reflect back attributes that will click and jive and wire, especially your South node. And then you're going to read the North node stuff and go, oh, I know that feels good when I do that, but it's so hard. Or, oh, I just can't get out of my own way. And it's, getting out of our own way and reaching towards our own future and our soul's evolution. When you reach towards and aspire towards whatever your North node is, or like we're doing in the collective with Aries, we create more happiness. We create more health and well-being, truth, honesty, peace, love, whatever it may be that creates well-being and growth, evolution. So those are things for you to look into. So let's talk about Jupiter and Jupiter in Taurus and the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. We are in it. I don't know what the degrees are right now, the separation, the orb is, but I mean, like, we are effectively starting to feel it. The actual conjunction is on, what is it, April 20th, 21st?
Yeah. And I think it's around 21 degrees, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And you and I talked about this before and how I have some personal astrology that that is very interconnected with that, because it's just, for me, it's this 2-degree orb of my Uranus opposition. Okay, so let's talk about it. What are you seeing with this? What are you excited about? And also, what are some of the cautionary tales that you might share with people?
The following ad is sponsored by Pets Best Insurance Services.
Pets come into our lives in many ways. Shelters, breeders, or unexpected encounters. But no matter how you found your pet, they become our perfect match. Unfortunately, finding the right pet insurance plan can be hard. That's where Pets Best comes in. With a little information about you and your pet, Pets Best will recommend a plan that meets your needs and budget. Visit PetsBest.com to learn more today. Your perfect pet deserves the perfect coverage. PetsBest.com.
Hey guys, Rob Parker here to tell you the national sales event is on at your Toyota dealer, making now the perfect time to get a great deal on a dependable new Toyota truck like the rugged half-ton Tundra. Workhorse by nature, powerhouse by design, the Tundra combines raw capability with premium comfort and advanced tech to fuel your wildest adventures. And with the available iForce Max hybrid powertrain, you can take electrifying horsepower further than ever before. Or check out the fully redesigned Tacoma, delivering trail-dominating power and captivating style. The new Tacoma was born to make your off-roading dreams come true. And with the new available tech, this legendary truck is getting even better. And when you buy a Toyota truck, you buy Toyota dependability, meaning your truck will hold its value long into the future. So visit your local Toyota dealer and check out amazing national sales event deals when you visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Are you ready to share some joy and celebrate International Women's Day? M&M's has partnered with iHeart for Women Take the Mic, treating you to the most uplifting and empowering stories of women supporting and celebrating each other. And of course, there is a smooth and creamy companion for your listening pleasure, peanut butter M&Ms, because they're just another way to help treat yourself in situations where you deserve a little added delight, like listening to your favorite podcast. So grab a handful of that creamy deliciousness. Kick back and spread some positivity into the world. From smashing glass ceilings to breaking records in sports, on stages, and at the box office, women are crushing it in every way imaginable. And with peanut butter M&Ms by your side, relax and keep listening to Women Take the Mic podcasts as you dance your way through inspiring stories, share laughs, and savor the deliciousness of peanut butter M&Ms and the unstoppable force of women. Happy International Women's Day.
What are you seeing with this? What are you excited about? And also, what are some of the cautionary tales that you might share with people?
Well, to kind of break it down, I want to think about how Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, so it will be there until 2026. And then Jupiter came along in 2023 and then will leave then as Jupiter enters Gemini around May of this year. So Uranus, we kind of think about then how Uranus is so much about technological changes. It looks at innovation, revolution. So with Taurus, so Taurus is this earth sign. It's very stable, it's steady, it's secure. It's a very, very slow moving sign, just to say. Taurus prefers its comforts and likes what it likes. There is comfort and familiarity in what Taurus does, which can be really great. But of course, with Uranus has come along in this sign, and what has been ushered in would be these drastic shifts and changes, unexpected changes, which we perhaps could not control. Uranus tends to do that. It just sort of shatters things. So unexpected changes to do with our finances, property, land, farming, agriculture, resources, our stability's just been shaken, essentially. And we're also noticing the huge shifts to do with money and how things are now more digital, right? The exciting thing I think about Uranus in Taurus, just in general, is how business owners, for example, have been able to really innovate. You know, we've noticed how there's a lot of people online. I mean, podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts have just boomed over the years. So great for people who are really wanting to branch out, try new things, and taking it all onto the online space. So there's that. But then you see Jupiter coming along in 2023. Jupiter expands. That can be a good thing. You know, we think about fortune, prosperity, luck, and everything. But the expansion can also happen where things are just too extreme, too overboard, right? So Jupiter in Taurus, what we've seen, just on a very practical, mundane sort of level, is inflation, the cost of living soaring, housing crisis, recessions being called. People have been asking themselves, what is a luxury versus what is a necessity? So a lot of people have actually been making cuts then in this way. However, the beneficial thing about it is people have also sought out after new opportunities, right? So new products, new services. What can we innovate? There's that part of innovation with Uranus, but then with Jupiter, there's that part of like growth and opportunity and everything. And I think as well, Jupiter has taught us that patience is a virtue. You know, there has been that steadiness, that slowness, and you have to learn a lot about patience. So spiritual lessons to do with patience, spiritual lessons to do with our endurance as well, and wisdom about our creativity and our self-worth, right? Self-worth, inner security to do with Taurus. So when we kind of consider all of these things and we look at the path of both Uranus and Jupiter in this conjunction that's coming up, well, it's going to welcome a new cycle. So whenever planets do conjunct, especially to the same minute, in this case it will be at the same minute and the very same degree, of course, there's a new cycle, a new beginning. So this new beginning will be about these Taurus themes, right? So we could very well see innovation, like this new change of breakthroughs to do with our finances, breakthroughs to do with our stability, and people taking a risk, people finding a new way, people being inspired in energetic ways. Originality as well, you know, being original about stability and about our security, breaking free as well, you know, breaking free from old sort of habits and everything. What can we do differently? But then I also think it's about feeling blessed. How do you feel blessed? And there's hope, I think, with this conjunction. There's hope that's going to be ushered in for many on a collective level.
It's so interesting that you just said being blessed and how do you feel blessed? Because literally last night I was driving home and I have had lots of moments recently where this sense of peace, feeling this appreciation deeper than gratitude, where I was just driving home from kind of a long day yesterday, you know, where there wasn't anything exciting and wasn't anything traumatic, you know, it just was a day, but I was driving home and just listening to the radio and all of a sudden this wave of, I feel blessed. I feel grateful. Like I will feel that. It will flash through my periphery. I'll notice it and I will marinate in it a little bit, but it's happening more rapidly. So I love, in addition to all of the very practical things that you addressed, inflation, money, self-worth, freedom, all of these qualities of Jupiter and Uranus that are coming together and fusing together. I love that you added in the element of feeling blessed. And I think that relates back to self-worth and enhancing. I am worthy, I'm valuable. And then what do I value? I also feel like there's this kind of freeing element or revolution in what do we really value? And then how do we prioritize that? And it's funny, Hannah, like I just am saying that, I'm thinking back to the pandemic and how a lot of us had to shift our priorities and our lifestyles were drastically changed. So it forced a lot of people to redesign their life-work balance and, you know, people wanting to work virtually and work from home. You know, there's just been a lot of shifts, but I feel like something in this is not only going to what am I prioritizing? What do I value? And how do I take action around that? How do I prioritize it? How do I demonstrate it in my life? For some reason, that seems to be coming through. You know, and I'm also thinking about, and you've touched on this a little bit, but technological advances and innovation. I mean, obviously with Pluto and Aquarius, But I know we're talking about Taurus, which is about the long game and sustainability. But, I feel like there could be some big advances in AI, virtual reality kind of stuff, and how we use virtual reality. A lot of those innovative qualities somehow feel tied into like ushering in a new way of being. And whatever anyone thinks about AI, because we've got the pros and we have the fears and the cons, all of the things, it's still something new is shifting. And it's like, because it's Taurus, it's hardwired in. This is the long game. This is the new reality. So it's like, this is just like this Aries equinox that Hannah and I were talking about, and how it feels different. It is different. There's a big tidal wave or surge of energy. This is like another surge of energy, and we've already had Pluto move into Aquarius. We just keep getting one after the other of new events, like you said, ushering in new eras.
Yeah, and I think with Pluto entering Aquarius, as you mentioned, it's important then to follow the path of Uranus, because Uranus is the modern day ruler of Aquarius. So with Uranus being in Taurus, I think what is really happening on a collective scale is upskilling. So people are having to really upskill their businesses, their skills. You have to think about their gifts and what they bring to the table. Because as you say, with AI, whether, you are for it, against it, it's here, right? And I think AI, what it's suggesting is that things are just moving at such a rapid speed, right? There's an acceleration happening. This is Aquarius. Aquarius,
Yes.
just Pluto in Aquarius is like putting it on overdrive, and it's just go, 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 go. So with Uranus then being in Taurus, I think the challenge in this, right, the Aquarius and Taurus create squares. Squares can create tension and challenge in astrology. So the challenge in this is, how can I keep up? How can I upskill and be ahead of the curve as well?
I mean, that's a great way to put it. And it's so clear and simple, but it's also about strategy. And, in talking about AI and technology, for a long time, I mean, I had this fundamental fear in my soul, in my gut. My South Node is in Aquarius, by the way, just so you know where my North Node is. And my South Node is in Aquarius in the 8th house. So, certain psychic abilities and things from the past. So this has been a few years ago. I mean, I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my gosh, we're repeating the past. AI is going to take over. We're going to lose our human soul and sovereignty. I mean, I would wake up with that. And then, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago or so, I woke up and said, you know what, Amanda? This is about exactly what you just said. Collaboration, this element of it's not going anywhere. So how do you work with and still remain in integrity? How do you utilize it in order, like you said, to help you not just keep up, but propel forward? And I want to tell you, let me give you this example of where I actually saw it blowing my mind. A friend of mine was doing a writing project, and it was really the first time I had worked with any chat GPT software, and I hadn't interfaced with it much. And she and I were working together, and she was asking certain questions and building these questions into this dialogue with the AI, and she sent it over to me. And as I'm reading it, and then she had shown me how to ask the questions, and I mean, I'm total novice, right? But anyway, as I'm doing it, all of a sudden, I start firing and wiring and my consciousness, and it was like the Chat GPT or whatever program it was so rapid and so fast, and it was engaging my brain in this rapid, fast way where knowledge and information was assimilating, and it was like we were riffing back and forth. And so I share that example from my own fear and my own criticism and my own, I don't want to hear it. It's not really happening, from a while back, to learning to get curious, learning to collaborate, learning to use it in a healthy way. And then when I did, it kind of blew my mind, because my abilities, my cognizance, my intelligence felt almost like a computer that was processing rapidly. Does that make sense when I give that example?
It does make sense to me, because when I even think about Uranus and Aquarius, I think about that kind of the cosmic downloads, it's almost like you're being plugged into a computer and all of the information is just, it's being downloaded.
Yeah.
But I feel like the word you said there, which I loved, integrity at the same time with everything. What sprung to my mind in this is with Jupiter, right? So Jupiter, as part of this conjunction in April, well, Jupiter looks at things like morality, right? Jupiter reminds us, remember your faith, remember your beliefs. It's your moral compass, it's your moral guide. So it's how you can also, at the same time, which I love that you said that, at the same time, it's having this relationship with these technological changes in a way where you're not sacrificing your morals, right? You're not sacrificing your integrity. You're also keeping in the back of your mind, okay, I want to do the right thing according to my own sort of personal moral view.
I think that is beautifully put, and remembering everyone out there that most people just think about Jupiter, oh, luck, opportunity, expansion. But Jupiter is about integrity, your moral compass. And what Hannah said, how am I doing this, engaging with this without sacrificing my beliefs, my morals? And I think that states it beautifully. So keep these things in mind, because especially as we move through April and May, there's more significant shifts happening. And I told you the first thing when we got on the call, I was like, I'm ready for Jupiter to move into Gemini. And I mean, I'm an air sign, so it just adds some flow in. And if I told you what house it was in, it's freaking me out a little bit too, but I'm excited about it. It's in my 12th house. So it's I'm just great, get ready. But at the same time, I'm in this place in my life where it's whatever comes is part of my growth. So let's talk about Jupiter shifting from Taurus into Gemini, because that, to me, they're very different. They're very different. And I think we're going to see a surge of different energy, especially with all the air, because of the Aquarian energy, maybe the Pluto in Aquarius. I don't know, but you can talk about that.
The interesting thing about Jupiter entering Gemini is there will be a bit of a trine. So trines tend to be more harmonious, like a harmonious flow. They can be well blended. So there's a nice kind of harmony between Jupiter and Pluto. So Pluto will be retrograde in Aquarius at the time. So we could very well see a lot of people wanting to drive forward with their ideas, their discoveries, reinventing themselves, right? So to think about Gemini is such a curious sign. Gemini is highly inquisitive, can often be too nosy for its own good as well at times. But the beautiful thing about Gemini is that we have an opportunity to switch things up, is to be flexible. This is great. It's adaptable, right? So we move from the kind of stuck energy of Taurus, but we move to the more kind of free, spirited and intellectual, movable sign of Gemini. It's an interesting one because Jupiter in Gemini is actually in detriment. So what detriment essentially means for listeners is that it's when the planet is in the opposite sign from which it rules. So Jupiter in Gemini, yes, what can happen here is that things can become pretty jumbled up. We can be scatterbrained. We can maybe juggle far too many things. So there can be an overdoing it quality, let's just say. It can expand to such an extreme. So within Gemini, restless minds, interruptive energy as well. People really wanting to get their opinions across. Jack of all trades, but master of none. But the wonderful thing about Jupiter and Gemini, of course, this is just really looking at this as an individual placement. There will be a few aspects throughout the year, of course. We're going to notice squares to Saturn, for example. But Jupiter and Gemini, this is about us being mentally adventurous, mentally just, being so curious. It's curiosity expanded, and being hopeful as well about our connections, the connections that we make. We may actually see more people wanting to network, wanting to engage, wanting to share ideas, getting together, especially when we consider how Uranus is also going to follow suit in Gemini over the next few years. So we're going to see these technological advancements and changes here to do with our ideas and curiosity. And then also traveling, perhaps for social purposes, right? I kind of think of Jupiter as the traveler.
Yes.
So maybe we'll be connecting on this level with many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, in thinking about Jupiter, and by the way, everyone, this is happening in May. It's around May 25th. So it'll be interesting between now and May with this big shift with Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in Taurus. Something is shifting. And then once Jupiter moves into Gemini, it's like the ideas start firing and wiring. Synapses start coming together. I feel like there will be opportunity for massive consciousness upgrades, downloads, clarity, and communication that feels enlivened, vital, and engaged. And like you said, being wary of overextending yourself. A jack of all trades and a master of none. I think that in there is brilliant. That element of being busy for the sake of being busy or not being able to shut off your mind. And we talk about this often about how important stillness is and grounding and finding quiet and solitude to be able to get clear with inside yourself so you show up more authentically, more healthfully and wholly. So this will kind of exacerbate this extroversion of energy and this mental chatter. And what you said about gossip, I mean, we know that about Geminis is, they are social butterflies. And yes, they can be a little too nosy, a little too gossipy. And hey, no shade on the Geminis out there. We're just truth telling. I mean, all the things that, because we all have those shadow sides in our charts. And typically we know ourselves pretty well. But being mindful of what is your business and what isn't, what is your place. And with the North Node in Aries, is this my battle to fight? Am I supposed to insert myself here? Is this any of my business? Or should I back off? Like, this is not mine. This is for someone else. Or am I enabling by jumping in and interjecting? Am I triangulating? So I think those are really good things to think about, especially as we enter the second half of the year after this May, the end of May. And I feel like everybody will feel it. At least I do when these shifts happen. I mean, I tend to feel it, I think, just because of being aware of it. But I think we will feel a surge of just kind of curious, wide-eyed, wondrous, engaging energy, some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that can tend to happen. So whenever the shifts do happen at the beginning, it can feel more significant or more powerful. I really liked from what you said there about with the stillness, right? So with that chitter chatter and overthinking, that can be difficult then to kind of come from a place of stillness. So there will be squares between Saturn in Pisces and then Jupiter in Gemini throughout this year as well. So when I think of Pisces and the lessons that Saturn in Pisces has been bringing up for many of us is that of, okay, how do I go within? How do I search for meaning from within? It's more about your soul connection. It's more about your intuition, feeling. A lot of healing is done in those spaces as well. But you see with the squares to Gemini, there could be some challenge there. There could be a challenge between those parts of ourselves to do with Pisces versus the other parts where it's going to be more about the mind, the chitter chatter, as you were saying. So it's how we try to bring them into a better alignment. The challenge is, of course, they can be worked on. That's the beauty about astrology as well. When it comes to squares and oppositions, etc., we can really learn from those challenges and grow up a great deal too.
Yeah. I told you I have a lot of Pluto, like heavy Pluto in my chart where, the things that I was born with. So I'm like, okay, just bring on the challenge, because I know, like, through the pain, through the suffering, through whatever comes up, I have that element of hope. I'm like, because I've seen it over and over again in my life. If I move through it, if I show up for it, if I'm open to healing, whatever that, or receiving help, being honest, whatever it is. And I mean, the more I learn about that, and I guess it's maybe the stage I'm in my life, any of these, harder, more challenging aspects, it's like, okay, this is teaching me something. It's time to sit down in class, and I'm here for it, and I'm human, so it's going to be messy and painful, but I don't have to do this alone. There's that other element, I think, too, with Saturn and Pisces and other things, but it's like we don't have to do this alone. We have community, and that also this element of Jupiter moving into Gemini is your relationships and connections, the people that you associate with on a daily basis, because Gemini is so much about the day-to-day, the kind of in-your-face daily communications, and maybe how do we enrich those? How do we become more present, more intentional with people, listen better? I think of Gemini, it's like not just about communication, it's about the two ears that we have and the one mouth, the listening skills as well. And with all that mental chatter, it may be challenging to be able to be still and to listen, but that's an integral part to healthy communication and collaboration or relationships, period, right?
The following ad is sponsored by Pets Best Insurance Services.
Pets come into our lives in many ways. Shelters, breeders, or unexpected encounters. But no matter how you found your pet, they become our perfect match. Unfortunately, finding the right pet insurance plan can be hard. That's where Pets Best comes in. With a little information about you and your pet, Pets Best will recommend a plan that meets your needs and budget. Visit petsbest.com to learn more today. Your perfect pet deserves the perfect coverage. Petsbest.com.
Hey guys, it's Steve Covino from Covino and Rich, here to tell you the national sales event is on at your Toyota dealer, making now the perfect time to get a great deal on a dependable new Toyota truck, like a rugged half-ton Tundra. Workhorse by nature, powerhouse by design, the Tundra combines raw capability with premium comfort and advanced tech to fuel your wildest adventures. And with the available iForce Max hybrid powertrain, you can take electrifying horsepower farther than ever before. Or check out the fully redesigned Tacoma, delivering trail-dominating power and captivating style. The new Tacoma was born to make your off-roading dreams come true. And with the new available tech, this legendary truck is getting even better. When you buy a Toyota truck, you buy Toyota dependability, meaning your truck will hold its value long into the future. So visit your local Toyota dealer. Check out the amazing national sales event deals when you visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Are you ready to share some joy and celebrate International Women's Day? M&M's has partnered with iHeart for Women Take the Mic, treating you to the most uplifting and empowering stories of women supporting and celebrating each other. And of course, there is a smooth and creamy companion for your listening pleasure, peanut butter M&Ms, because they're just another way to help treat yourself in situations where you deserve a little added delight, like listening to your favorite podcast. So grab a handful of that creamy deliciousness. Kick back and spread some positivity into the world. From smashing glass ceilings to breaking records in sports, on stages, and at the box office, women are crushing it in every way imaginable. And with peanut butter M&Ms by your side, relax and keep listening to Women Take the Mic podcasts as you dance your way through inspiring stories, share laughs, and savor the deliciousness of peanut butter M&Ms and the unstoppable force of women. Happy International Women's Day.
Let's talk a little bit in closing, and we've touched on it, but I want to go back a little bit to the north and the south nodes of the moon and people's natal north and south nodes and why those are important parts in the chart to know and to begin to study or understand. And any other part of the chart, Chiron, anything that stands out to you that you feel like are really worthy of study?
So the important thing about the nodes is that they can often point towards our life path, our life direction. Depending on the astrologer you speak with, you could get astrologers who say that the south node is more about past lives, so who you were in a past life. But then other astrologers may say that it's more so about the past, right? So just the past in general to do with this life. So the idea of this is that the south node looks at our comfort zone. It looks at what we're used to. It can signify our gifts, our talents. We're in that comfortable space, right? It's a familiar area for us. But the thing about the north node is that it's so much about how can I grow? What can I learn? And it, in a way, takes us out of our comfort zone. So we may be a little bit hesitant, weary, and a bit afraid to follow the north node. But the north node helps us then with fulfillment. We can actually feel really fulfilled from within, whenever we do take the leap. There's a leap involved when it comes to the nodes. So in this way, it is important to address the north and the south node because it can tell you a lot about where you're headed in this life. However, as I was saying earlier, it's also important to keep in mind the gifts of the south node as well, and to also make sure that that is being taken into consideration, because what can also happen is when we lean too much into the north node, what can occur is there can become an obsession. We're like obsessed with reaching this place and it's push, 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 push. But I feel as if, the south node brings us back to center at times. It can remind us, why did I start this in the first place? Why am I headed this way? It's like coming back to yourself in a way, like coming home, if you will, with the south node. But there's an energy exchange happening between both the north node and the south node. And at the same time with the south node, it can also be a place where we become burnt out because we're not learning, we're not challenging ourselves, we're leaning way, way too much into that space. And that's also where the north node comes into it. So you can kind of perhaps see in this way, and I'm just describing this in a very practical way, you can kind of see the back and forth. But the last thing I kind of want to mention then about the nodes is that now, this is not all the time, but the eclipses are going to occur on that nodal axis. So eclipses happen every 8 to 9 years or so. So, of course, we've talked today about how there's going to be the lunar eclipse in Libra and the solar eclipse in Aries. So the nodes then are on this axis. So the thing about the eclipses then is that they look at points of activation. Eclipses, so if you can imagine, new moons and full moons, of course, a new moon solar eclipse happens and then a full moon lunar eclipse happens. But new moons and full moons, they're still points of activation. But when it comes to the eclipses, it's more powerful, right? It's more significant. It's like a gateway, like a portal. A portal is sort of opening, right? An energetic one. So the reason why I bring this up is because when it comes to the nodes, it's important to kind of follow the eclipses at the same time and to see that now that perhaps is more on a everyday level. You could have a certain nodal axis in your chart, for example, and you weren't born during an eclipse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the nodes, we also want to look at the eclipses and then see where the set of eclipses are playing out for you within your chart, and then keep looking back and see, what happened 8 to 9 years ago? What themes came up? Now, of course, the nodes are going to be switched around, so in the case of another 8 or 9 years from now, this south node will be
Yes, it flips.
Yeah, in Libra. Yeah.
And I hope everyone out there is getting this point that Hannah is referring to about cycles of time. So even when we were talking about Jupiter moving into Gemini, well, you can look back and about 12 years ago, Jupiter transited Gemini. What happened for you then? You can do this at any point in astrology, but knowing, okay, we have a big transit coming on, let me research that and see when was Jupiter last in Gemini? And then looking back to those years and saying, what was I learning? And then you start pulling together data points for yourself, that point in time where you excelled, where you were challenged, what was going on the world stage. I mean, you can pull it together and extrapolate that information to create clarity to propel you forward. But I also love it in looking at eclipse cycles and seasons, so we know when the north and south nodes were transiting in wherever our natal north and south nodes are, and what we were learning, what was happening, what was being transformed, rebirthed, what metamorphosis was taking place, because eclipses have that connotation of transformation. It's a cycle of change in, either something is dying and being left behind in order for something else to bloom, depending on lunar eclipses, solar eclipses. I mean, they're all kind of this confluence of energy. But I encourage everyone, and again, again, like I said, you can check out Hannah's videos. So if you find out, oh my gosh, my North Node is in Sagittarius, your South Node is in Gemini, and you can figure out what houses they're in. But Hannah has this great library. And then also, let's say you do have a North Node in Sag and Jupiter is moving into Gemini. At some point, Jupiter will be opposite your North Node during the course of the next year. So that signals some tension, some opposition, pulling out new talents, illuminating things. I'm giving that as an example of how incredible astrological transits are for us personally. And Hannah, of course, knows this. This is what she does. This is the gift that she gives. Hey, where are your North and South nodes?
My North Node is in Capricorn and my South Node is in Cancer.
Hannah, like me, and that's, I think, one of the reasons I relate to her so much, is in her videos, she always gives a lot of personal experience and anecdotes. She doesn't hide her personal astrology, and she always shares, and so it's very relatable to me. You know, we have this last little bit of Pluto going back in for just a smidge over that anaretic degree of Capricorn. But I know you're probably like, okay, you know, some flush of energy. It's activated, like you said, the familiar. But what are you doing, you know, with the Cancerian energy? And I love that. And I think all the nodes are beautiful and they all are freaking hard. You know, it's like our life lessons. Like, it's like, oh, it's beautiful, but gosh, this is a lot of work. And then it's also when you have the breakthroughs, it's wondrous. It's magical when things click and those nodal axes come together. So thank you for sharing that. And also as a reminder, and I've communicated this to everyone, but deeper than that, figuring out your natal chart and where the nodes fall, what the house placement is to drill down better or deeper into the lesson. And I love what Hannah articulated, depending on your belief system or how you interpret your astrology. The South Node can either represent the past or past lives, and I find both to be true for myself. I mean, I can see all of those things very clearly for myself and for others, of course. You know, I'm working with people for years, psychically and energetically, that I see those things play out. And I had a therapist say to me about, gosh, I don't know, 14 or 15 years ago, I was doing EMDR just over some trauma and stuff that was going on in my life. And I really wasn't ready to heal at that point. At that point in my life, I was in it and I was searching for healing, but I was like not ready to really do the work, so to speak, my part of it, the action. But we had done some EMDR and some very clear past life stuff came up. And you know, it was really astounding to her and to me in multitude of ways. But she said to me, you know, Amanda, it doesn't matter what the belief is around, did you live multiple past lives? She says, this is how your brain is and your psychology and your psyche is interpreting it. It's this story is this significant and meaningful and powerful to you. So whether you believe this is the past life, this is what you're processing, this is what happened, or your brain, your psyche, your consciousness is telling you this story so you understand the depth of the journey, the depth of the experience and how it's affecting you today. And that to me, and I do believe in past lives and, you know, multidimensional time and realities. For me, that, I mean, hello, Aquarius South Node in the 8th house, you know, like that is like, hello, we know that. I'm like, oh yes, of course. But I also believe that that's how my psychology now, my consciousness now, how literal something can be and how seriously I'm interpreting or experiencing a trauma or a lesson. So I just wanted to share that with people as far as how powerful learning about your North and South nodes are and how they can really, if you want to dive in and understand, start pulling together greater clarity and truth and meaning and stepping into this integrity of your truth, your meaning, your soul. I think so. Astrology, of course, this ancient practice that Hannah brings so accessibly and relatably. And by the way, Hannah does sessions and readings. She has a Patreon account. If you're not familiar with Patreon is this great platform where so many teachers create memberships at very accessible prices. So, an easy membership. Hannah has, and I'll let her tell you about in a second, her resources, where to find her, getting a session with her. You go ahead and take the reins with that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda.
Yeah.
So you can find me, over at hannahselsewhere.com. You can find my services. You can book a reading with me there. You can also find ebooks, guides, and everything. Cheat sheets are also available. And of course, there is the library of videos over on my YouTube channel, Hannah Elsewhere. And lastly, if you're interested in becoming a member, you can always join the Patreon. There are 2 tiers, and just a way to support the content, but it's also a great source for PDF guides. And if you want to keep up with the energies of the day, because there are daily forecasts available too.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us. I hope you found this enriching. This is totally one of those episodes you're going to want to go back and listen to and take notes and then draw the parallels and then do some research in your own astrology or even numerology, whatever is firing and wiring for you. But get excited. This year to me, astrologically, I'm like, it's not that it's just easy, but I feel like it's like a year of like windfalls and breakthroughs where we're going to feel new energy. We're going to feel new consciousness, new ways of thinking, doing, and connecting. And because the astrology has been challenging on a more universal scale, I feel like it's been heavier and harder, and not that we won't have those things, but it feels brighter and lighter. And I hope you've all found a lot of wisdom and a lot of parallels for yourself. So keep searching and seeking and have freaking fun. Have fun with this, because if we're not laughing and enjoying ourselves and feeling revitalized, shoot, we're going to run out of gas and burn out. So really revitalize yourself through connection and laughter and happiness and joy wherever you can. Take care, everyone, and be well.
Ready to celebrate International Women's Day? M&M's and iHeart present Women Take the Mic, sharing empowering stories of women supporting and celebrating each other. And of course, there is a smooth and creamy companion for your listening pleasure, peanut butter M&M's. Because they're just another way to help treat yourself in situations where you deserve a little added delight, like listening to your favorite podcast. So savor the deliciousness of peanut butter M&M's and spread some positivity. From breaking glass ceilings to dominating in sports and entertainment, women truly are unstoppable.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Find great brands like Monogram at your local showroom or visit us online at ferguson.com/build.
Let's hit it. Give me a vacation. Give me a wave.
Surfing.
Give me a city tour.
The trolley.
Give me animals.
The zoo.
Give me some sea life. Give me museums.
Balboa Park.
Give me a woo.
Roller coaster.
What's that spell?
San Diego.
If you're happy and you know it, San Diego is the place to show it. Book your family vacation at sandiego.org. Funded in part with the City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.